So here's our working definition. For a person, for an organization, or for a community, resilience is the ability to cope and thrive through adversity. And to understand resilience, we've got to talk about adversity. So let's collect some data right now. I'd like you to please raise your hand if you'd say you and your organization have experienced adversity recently. Okay, I'm counting. Okay, it's 100%. So I offer that for a group of people who come to work for an organization because of their concern for the suffering of others, to experience that suffering every day, is adverse. They're swimming in adversity. So we're going to explore this further. Now, to understand adversity, we've got to talk about intention, because adversity is thwarted intention. No intention, no adversity. And whether we're conscious of it or not, we always have an intention behind our actions. Even relaxing in the hammock, right? Stretching out on a summer day, you have an intention. What's your intention?
Relax.
Yeah, to relax, right? And that mosquito buzzing in your ear, what's that? It's adversity. Yeah. Without intention, we've got no context for adversity. And so neither for resilience. Now, this is where we've gotten to on our journey today. Resilience allows us to fulfill our intention through adversity using both determination and flexibility, right? Which may seem like opposing forces. How can I be both determined and flexible? So, I'm 10 years old, and I've just stepped off the stage from the school musical, and I'm ecstatic. And my friend asks me, now that you've been in your first musical, what are you going to do now? And I say, I'm going to Disneyland. Because I really am going to Disneyland. Next day, I'm in the car with my mom, my stepdad, my little sister, and we're on our way to Disneyland. I can have my birthday there, right? This is a dream. I love Disney. I've seen all the movies. I know the words to all the songs. And as we walk through the gates to the park, 2 days later, the music's filled with air. The music fills the air, and I'm in heaven. We had 2 magical days. What I didn't know then was that the next evening, I'd be sitting in the courtyard with my mom while she very gracefully shared the news with me that my dad back home had had a heart attack and he had died. Yeah. And this is why I actually didn't talk about this very much over the course of my life. It was because I didn't want people to feel sorry for me, right? Getting back on that plane the next day, I buckled my seatbelt tight, and I swore to myself I'd never get my hopes up again, right? I became very determined, setting goals for myself, for things I wanted to achieve, but I lived kind of a constrained existence. And now we went back home, and I went back home to my friends and to school, and I had a very privileged upbringing. And my childhood wasn't bad or tragic by any stretch. But I had that constraint, right, of wanting to make sure that I could know and understand everything around me so that I could make sure that I didn't get, swept away with looking forward to something again, so that I wouldn't have to deal with a disappointment like that again, right? So, one thing I began to practice was this idea of beginner's mind, right? That in the moment, you can be open to anything that's possible. Just 2.5 years ago, I went back to Disneyland for the first time with my family, with my wife and our 2 sons, and we spent an incredible time there. And at the end of the 2 days, I had it fixed in my mind that there was going to be this sort of perfect ending to our trip, right? Kind of a rigid idea of where I wanted it to go. I was determined to get to Main Street by 4 p.m. for the Main Street Parade, which happens every day. That was going to be the perfect ending for our trip in Disneyland. But my 7-year-old son and I, Noah and I, were way at the back of the park. Do you guys know where the Three Amigos is? It's there's 3:57. There's no way we're getting to Main Street in time for that parade on time. And I started to finding myself getting tense and frustrated. And I took a breath, I said, okay, look, let's bring a beginner's mind to this and just get present to where you are. You're here at Disneyland with your 7-year-old son. He has no expectations. He's at Disneyland, right? So just enjoy yourself. And right in that moment, the crowd opened up around us, and a flash parade of Disney characters came out all around us. Blue and gold and pink streamers shot in the air. And as the music played, the characters all marched down the street ahead of us. I turned and I looked at Noah, and he looked up at me, and he grabbed my hand, and he said, "Let's go, Daddy." And away we went. So this is what I'd like to invite you to consider, that resilience is a practice, not a place to get to. And you might want to ask yourself, how can I look at this newly when you find yourself in that tension? Because resilience is what the beginner's mind evokes, moment to moment.